The unstoppable advance. The stars burned cold and distant, silent witnesses to war. In the far reaches of Orion Sector, the Dravari Coalition moved like a tide of steel. Their warships filled the void, thousands of them, black shapes blotting out the stars. They were vast, angular and heavy with weapons that could melt cities from orbit. For weeks no one had slowed their advance. Every human defense line had fallen, one after another, like sandcastles against the ocean. On the human colonies, smoke rose from broken cities. Entire fleets had been reduced to wreckage that drifted silently in space. The Dravari commanders were confident now. Victory was certain. The humans were a stubborn race, but their ships were outdated, their weapons weaker, their fleets smaller. Resistance only delayed the inevitable. In the command chamber of the Dravari flagship, Commander Vaith watched the star maps with satisfaction. Red human signals blinked out one after another. "The Terrans are finished," he hissed, his scaled hands tightening on the railing. "By dawn cycle, their fleet in this sector will be gone." His officers bowed, certain of triumph. But among the scattered human survivors, whispers began to spread. Some spoke of an old name, a ghost from the past. The USS Blackstar. No one knew if it was real or just a story to give hope. The Blackstar had been humanity's most secret ship, lost in an experiment years ago, gone without trace. Some claimed it had been destroyed. Others said it had crossed into a place beyond space. Whatever the truth, the rumor was enough to pass from soldier to soldier, from refugee to refugee. Blackstar will return. Aboard the battered human cruiser, resolute, Captain Harris leaned over his console. His face was pale, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. Around him, his crew worked in silence, knowing they could not hold much longer. "Enemy fleet approaching," his officer reported. 3 minutes until engagement." Harris nodded slowly. The human fleet was broken, only a handful of ships remained. Their weapons were damaged, their shields weakened. They had no chance against the Dravari Armada, but still they stood. "We fight until the last," Harris said quietly. His crew lifted their heads. They would not run. Outside, the black shapes of Dravari ships moved closer. Their weapons glowed, ready to burn, through the final line of human defense. The alien commander opened a channel, his voice echoing across frequencies. "Humans, your resistance is pathetic. Lay down your arms, this system is ours, accept your defeat." On the bridge of the Resolute, no one answered. Silence was the only reply. The humans prepared for battle, even if it was their last. In the void, the alien fleet formed a wall of firepower. It was overwhelming, endless. Missiles armed, cannons charged, drones swarmed like metal locusts. The humans were cornered, trapped, unable to escape. But among the crews, one word whispered again and again: Blackstar. Some laughed at it. Some clung to it like a prayer. No signal had been detected. No ship had been seen. Yet the hope lingered. Harris heard the whispers too. He said nothing, but inside he wanted to believe. The Dravari did not fear. To them, the humans were already beaten. Their armada moved forward with the arrogance of conquerors. Entire sectors had fallen, and this one would follow. Victory was not only expected, it was guaranteed, but the stars themselves seemed to wait. The silence of space carried a tension no one could explain. Even the Dravari commander felt a strange unease, though he brushed it away. He looked out at the burning human colonies, the wreckage of fleets, and smiled with cruel certainty. Victory was theirs. The humans were broken, and yet, hidden beyond the edge of sensors, something stirred. Something that had been gone for years. Something that did not forget. The USS Blackstar was coming. The ghost ship rumor, the battle had not yet begun, but already the air on the Resolute felt heavy. Crew members moved with grim silence, checking consoles that showed only red warnings, shields at 30%, weapons overheating, engines barely stable. Everyone knew the truth. They were standing on the edge of death. Still, the whispers did not stop. Blackstar. The name floated between the crew like smoke. Some muttered it under their breath as if speaking it too loudly might break the fragile hope. Others rolled their eyes, refusing to believe in fairy tales while staring at the incoming wall of alien warships. Lieutenant Vega, young and sharp-eyed, finally spoke what many thought. "Captain, this Blackstar thing, do you believe it?" "Captain." Harris didn't look at her. His gaze was fixed on the screen, where the Dravari fleet blotted out the stars. "Belief doesn't matter, Lieutenant. We fight with what we have." His voice was steady, but deep inside even he wanted to believe the old stories. The story went back almost 15 years. A secret project. A ship unlike any other, built in silence in the hidden yards near Neptune. The USS Blackstar, a prototype. Equipped with technology so advanced it bordered on madness. Some said its hull was made with alien alloys. Others that its engines could slip into dimensions unknown. The most dangerous rumor of all claimed the ship had a mind of its own. But the Blackstar had disappeared. One day it was hailed as humanity's strongest weapon. The next it was gone, vanished in a classified test run with no message, no wreckage, nothing. Officially, it was lost. Unofficially, it became a legend. Across human colonies, children whispered about it like they once whispered. About ghosts in the dark. Soldiers, broken and weary, carried the tale into battle as a prayer. The USS Blackstar was gone, but maybe not forever. The Dravari mocked the idea whenever they intercepted human transmissions. "The ghost ship," they sneered. "Humans cling to shadows." To them, the Blackstar was nothing but a desperate myth, an excuse for a dying species to dream of survival. On the flagship of the Dravari Armada, Commander Vaith stood tall, his scaled jaw curving into a cruel smile. Reports from scouts confirmed what he already knew. The Terrans had no reinforcements. Their remaining fleet was fractured, broken into scraps of steel. Victory would be swift. Yet he noticed something strange in the intercepted human chatter. That word, again and again. "Blackstar," he hissed with amusement. "They pray to a ghost. Fools. When this day ends, their last hope will burn." Back on the Resolute, the crew braced as alarms wailed. "Enemy weapons charging," someone shouted. The ship trembled as the first barrage lit the void, streaks of burning plasma cutting across space. Explosions blossomed as smaller human ships were torn apart in seconds. The void filled with debris and fire. "Return fire," Harris commanded. His voice was iron, though his heart pounded. The Resolute answered with its own cannons, but the blasts were pitiful against the tide of enemy steel. Each second stretched. Long. The humans fought, but everyone could feel it. The end creeping closer. Still, in the middle of chaos, whispers spread faster. Crew members repeated the name like a mantra. Refugees on nearby colony stations sent desperate signals. "Is it true? Has Blackstar returned?" Lieutenant Vega leaned close to Harris. Her voice was low. "Sir, if there's even a chance, maybe it's listening. Maybe it's out there." Harris finally turned his eyes toward her. For the first time, his mask of control cracked just slightly. "Then let it hear us," he said. He pressed the comms. His voice carried out into the void, across all frequencies, human and alien alike. "This is Captain Harris of the Terran Fleet. To any who still hear me, we will not surrender. We will not yield. If the Blackstar lives, now is the time." Silence followed. No answer came. Only the cold stars and the hungry glow of enemy weapons. The Dravari laughed, mocking the desperate call. "You call shadows for help? Pathetic." But in the emptiness of space, far beyond their sensors, something shifted. Invisible eyes opened. Engines long thought silent pulsed once like a heartbeat. The Blackstar was listening. The arrival, the void of space was burning. The Dravari Armada unleashed another wave, their plasma cannons tearing through the last human cruisers. Ships cracked open like broken shells, spilling fire and bodies into the dark. On the Resolute, alarms screamed and sparks rained from consoles. The crew struggled just to keep the ship alive, shields collapsing, Vega shouted. Harris gripped the railing, his knuckles white. The bridge shook as another blast hammered the hull. They were barely holding together, fighting not for victory, but for the honor of resisting to the last breath. On the Dravari flagship, Commander Vaith leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with cruel delight. The Terrans were almost finished. Their fleet was dust and ashes. Soon their resistance would end, and his name would be carved in history as the conqueror of Earth's colonies. Then, it happened. At first, it was only a flicker, a strange distortion rippling across the stars, faint and unnatural. The Dravari sensors caught it instantly, but the data was scrambled, unreadable. Their operators frowned, confused. In the heart of battle, space itself seemed to twist. Shadows bent, light bent. And then, as if the void had been torn open by unseen hands, a shape emerged. It was vast, larger than any human vessel still afloat. Its hull gleamed black as midnight, drinking in starlight. Strange lines of silver pulsed across its surface, alive with energy no human or Dravari ship carried. It moved with silence, but the silence was heavy, like the hush before a storm. The USS Blackstar had arrived. For a heartbeat, the battlefield froze. Even the Dravari gunners hesitated, their claws hovering over controls. The humans stared in shock, not daring to breathe. Lieutenant Vega whispered, "It's real." Captain Harris's eyes widened, his voice breaking the silence. Blackstar, on the Dravari flagship, unease flickered across Commander Vaith's face. The ship before him should not exist. He hissed in anger, but beneath it was fear. Fire on it. Destroy it before it moves. The Dravari unleashed their fury. Hundreds of plasma beams lanced out, filling the void with fire. The Blackstar stood still, swallowed in the storm. For a moment, it vanished in the blaze. But then, the flames cleared. The Blackstar remained untouched. Not a scratch marred its surface. Its black hull shimmered with a faint rippling field like a second skin of light. Then it moved. Without warning, the Blackstar's weapons lit the dark. From its flanks, beams of white fire tore through space, slicing enemy cruisers in half, as though they were paper. Gravity surged in strange waves, pulling Dravari formations apart, scattering them like leaves in a storm. Drones, small, black, and fast as shadows, poured from hidden bays, weaving through enemy ships and tearing into their engines. The human crews on their battered ships could only watch in awe. Hope, raw and overwhelming, filled them for the first time in weeks. Their comms channels lit up with a single cry. "Blackstar fights with us." On the Resolute, Vega grinned despite the chaos. "Sir, it's like nothing I've ever seen." Harris said nothing. He could only stare. His heart pounded as the impossible ship turned its guns one by one against the enemy. For the Dravari, arrogance turned to panic. Ships tried to scatter, but the Blackstar was faster. Every time they regrouped, another wave of its weapons shattered their ranks. Their drones burned, their battleships split apart. On his flagship, Commander Vaith slammed his fists into the console. "It cannot be human. No human ship carries such power." He snarled, his voice rising with rage. "Where did they get this?" No one answered. Fear choked his officers. Back on the battlefield, a calm voice broke across every frequency, clear, steady, and undeniably human. "This is the USS Blackstar. To the Dravari fleet, your advance ends here." The message echoed across space. Every human heart lit with fire. Every Dravari heart trembled. And then, without another word, the Blackstar surged forward, its engines roaring like thunder in the void. The war was no longer certain. It had changed. The battle shatters the advance. The void lit with war. The Dravari Armada, once a wall of unstoppable steel, broke apart like glass under the hammer of the Blackstar. Human ships had always fought with desperation, relying on outdated weapons, courage, and sheer stubbornness. But the Blackstar fought with something else. something beyond what anyone thought humanity could build. Its cannons were not simple plasma or missile launchers. When they fired, the beams bent space itself, slicing through enemy shields as if they didn't exist. Entire cruisers folded inward, collapsing into twisted wreckage under invisible pressure. Gravity twisted like a knife, pulling Dravari battleships into each other until they crushed themselves. From its flanks, swarms of drones moved like living shadows. Sleek, black, and unnervingly silent, they darted into enemy formations. Each drone carried weapons that glowed with unnatural energy, tearing holes into enemy hulls with surgical precision. No signal controlled them. They moved as if they shared a single mind. On the Resolute, the bridge crew could only watch in disbelief. Lieutenant Vega's mouth fell open. "Sir, it fights like it knows what they'll do before they do it." "Captain." Harris nodded slowly, unable to take his eyes off the impossible ship. "It's more than a warship," he whispered. "It's something else." The Dravari, once so sure of victory, were in chaos. Their tight formations shattered, their fleets scattering like frightened animals. Their commanders screamed orders, but no strategy held against the Blackstar. Every time they tried to regroup, the Blackstar struck faster, harder, as if it anticipated their every move. On the Dravari flagship, Commander Vaith's scaled face twisted with fury. His claws dug into the command rail, leaving deep scars. "Hold the line," he roared. "Concentrate all fire on that ship." A dozen heavy dreadnoughts turned their guns on the Blackstar, unleashing a storm that should have annihilated any vessel alive. The battlefield exploded in blinding light. The shockwaves rippled through human ships, rocking them violently. For a moment, nothing could be seen but fire. And then, as the light faded, the Blackstar came through, untouched. Its shields shimmered faintly, a silver glow crawling across, its dark hull like veins of lightning. The humans gasped. The Dravari fell silent, and then the Blackstar answered. Its main cannon lit with a deep rising hum, a sound that rattled bones and sent vibrations through the void. The barrel pulsed with blinding energy before releasing a single beam, brighter than a star. It cut through the void in perfect silence. The beam struck one of the Dravari dreadnoughts, and the ship simply ceased to exist. One instant it was there, massive and armored. The next it dissolved into ash and scattered atoms erased from reality. Panic rippled across the Dravari fleet. On the Resolute, every crew member stared at the screen in stunned silence. Vega whispered, almost afraid to speak. That wasn't a weapon. That was something else." Harris tightened his jaw. "It's human, and it's ours." The Blackstar kept moving, weaving between enemy fire with impossible grace. For a ship of its size, it moved like a predator, silent, swift, deadly. Every strike it unleashed tore another wound in the Dravari armada. For the first time, the humans weren't fighting alone. Their broken cruisers rallied behind the Blackstar, emboldened by its impossible strength. With new fire in their hearts, they reformed their lines and struck back, their cannons blazing alongside the black warship. "Push forward," Harris ordered, his voice fierce. "With the Blackstar, we hold the line." The Dravari tried to retreat, but the Blackstar allowed none to escape easily. Gravity fields dragged their ships back into the storm. Drones chased fleeing craft, cutting their engines and leaving them adrift, helpless. Commander Vaith's composure cracked. Rage and fear burned in his eyes. "This is no human ship, this is a monster." His voice trembled, though he fought to hide it. Deep inside, he knew the truth. If humanity could build one Blackstar, perhaps they could build more. The battlefield that had once promised certain victory for the Dravari now became their graveyard. Wreckage littered the void, drifting like broken bones. Flames burst from their once proud cruisers, and through it all, the Blackstar moved like a shadow in the fire. On the comms, its calm voice spoke again. To the Dravari, "You thought humanity weak, you thought us broken, but we endure. We rise, and we do not forgive." The words echoed in every ear, human and Dravari alike, And with each passing second, the legend of the Blackstar grew darker, stronger, and more terrifying. The final message. The battlefield was unrecognizable. What had once been a proud, endless armada now drifted as broken wreckage. The Dravari fleet lay in pieces, shattered and burning. Their ships, which only hours before filled the stars like a wall of iron, were reduced to scattered debris and smoldering husks. Through the wreckage, the USS Blackstar drifted silently. Its black hull gleamed with faint light unscarred by the storm of war. The drones returned to their bays like shadows folding into night, and the battlefield grew still. On the Resolute, stunned silence filled the bridge. No one cheered, no one spoke. They simply stared at the ship that had saved them, afraid to break the spell. Lieutenant Vega's hands trembled as she whispered, "We should be dead. All of us. But they brought us back." Captain Harris's eyes never left the screen. He had seen many battles, many defeats, but never this. The Blackstar was more than human engineering. It was something greater, something born of desperation, courage, and perhaps something not entirely of this world. On the Dravari flagship, chaos reigned. Commander Vaith stood rigid, his pride turned to ash. Around him, officers shouted for retreat, their voices cracked with fear. His own claws shook as he stared at the impossible warship. "One ship," he muttered in disbelief. One human ship has undone an empire's fleet. He knew what it meant. If the humans had built this once, they could do it again. If one Blackstar existed, others might follow. And if that happened, the war was already lost. The Dravari fleet scattered, fleeing into the void with what little remained. Retreat signals filled their channels, commanders begging their ships to escape the nightmare. But before the silence of retreat settled, a voice echoed across every frequency, clear, deep, and unmistakably human. "This is the USS Blackstar. To the Dravari Coalition, your advance ends here. You thought humanity broken. You thought victory was certain, but you were wrong. This war is not yours to win. Go back to your dark empire and remember this day. Remember who stood against you." Every human ear heard the words like thunder. Every alien heart felt them like ice. For a moment, the void was silent again. The Blackstar lingered among the ruins as if staring down its enemies, daring them to return. Then, just as suddenly as it had come, the Blackstar began to fade. Its hull shimmered, flickering with light like a dying star. The great ship slipped into distortion, bending space around itself. The image broke apart, and with one final ripple, it was gone. No explosion, no trail, no signal, just gone. On the Resolute, Vega gasped. "It vanished." Captain Harris exhaled slowly, almost a prayer. "It never belonged to stay," he said. "It comes when we need it, and then it goes." Across the human fleet, broken and bloodied survivors sent out the same message. The Blackstar saved us. It spread through colonies, through outposts, through every corner of human space. Soldiers whispered it with pride. Refugees whispered it with tears. A legend had been reborn, not as rumor, but as truth. The Dravari, meanwhile, carried the memory back to their empire. Their leaders demanded answers, but no answer could erase the terror. Their fleets had been shattered by a ghost ship, their certainty of dominance destroyed in a single night. And deep inside their cold hearts, they carried a new fear. The fear of humans. The war was far from over. Battles would still rage, worlds would still burn. But from that day onward, the galaxy understood one truth. Humanity would never kneel. Because somewhere in the void, unseen but always watching, the Blackstar waited. And whenever the stars themselves trembled, when enemies thought victory was certain, they would hear that same final warning: "We do not yield."